Okay, so yeah, I sent an email about your test. I hope you all got it. You should get it. You should have got it. That's the revision video for your test. Of course, there is something that we need to cover now. You can look at the video and see how everything is done, but I want to cover some aspects of that video here, especially the animation aspect, which is the animation constraints. Okay, so I want to delete all of this now. Just delete this and that, and then let's get our monkey in. Okay, so I want to render this, right? And I want to animate the camera to render it. Now, we said that this button will allow me to look through the camera. And if I want to adjust the camera angle, I can go to this rollout, go to view, and lock camera to view, and I can do this. Now the camera is moving, and to prove it, I'm going to split my screen. Oops. And disable it here. Okay, and you will see that if I move this, the camera moves. Okay.
You want to render it as an image?
We will render it as an animation. So
Okay.
basic camera animation. Okay. So this is one way of doing it. So now, if you're following along, and if you have any questions, please stop me. Okay. So as you can see, again, I'm moving this thing here, and the camera is moving on that side. Now, if I want to animate the camera is selected. You can make sure that the camera is selected. This is just a quick recap. We've done this before. So the camera starts here. I'll go to the anywhere to the location and rotation of the camera. You can find it here. You can go to it here. Okay. So I'll press I to create a keyframe of frame 1. And then I'll go to frame, I don't know, 60, 70, whatever. And then I'll move the camera from here and create a new keyframe for the camera. Okay, and now I have this. Now, what's the problem with this? Why did this happen? ليش افترضت الكاميرا قاعدة تطالع هناك؟ Okay, again, the camera was looking here. Okay, but when I put the other keyframe, the camera looked the other way. Why?
يمكن لأنها موجهة على محل واحد.
Because we keyframed location, but what else should we keyframe?
Rotation.
Rotation, yes. So with camera, if the camera is freeform like this, we always need to keyframe location and rotation. Okay, so I'll go back to frame 1 and keyframe rotation as well. Now I'll go to frame whatever, 70 something, move that like that, and do this again, keyframing rotation and location. Okay, and now I have this. Okay, now in between, this is not nice. okay, because it cuts my model in half. So in this frame, I want to adjust it so it looks like this. And I'll keyframe rotation and location. Now I have this. It stays in the frame. So this is the most basic way to animate the camera. Okay, and I can go in between and adjust where I want the camera to be. Okay, and so on and so forth. Now, if I want to output this as an animation, okay, first of all, if you're following along, do you need a minute to do this, or can we proceed? You don't need a minute. Are you following? Is anybody following along? No, the test is not today. Okay, the test is supposed to be in the second class of this week. Okay, so in your case, that's going to be Wednesday. If it doesn't happen on Wednesday because we don't have Moodle, then we will move it to next week, to early next week. Okay, so it will be Monday next week. But you should be prepared for it to be on Wednesday. Okay, anyway, so this information is vitally important for your test. Okay, you need to understand this. Now, how can we render this as an animation? You need to set up the render folder, and you need to set up all sorts of things before you can hit render for an animation. Okay, and I'm going to go through the settings or what is required to render this as an animation. Okay, so first of all, we need to go here to output. Okay, and here you set all sorts of things. So you set the frame rate. The default frame rate is 24 frames per second, which is normal film frame rate. And then you have your resolution, 1920 by 1080. Okay, you can change all of that stuff, obviously. And then how many frames are you going to render? Now, my render here is, my animation is 74 frames long. So I don't want to render 250 frames. It's pointless. Okay, so let's say I'm going to render, I don't know, 75 frames. Okay, so here I can change this from frame start 1 to end 75. And you will see that your timeline has been clipped to 75 frames. Okay, so if I play this, it will go to the end and then repeat. Okay, so that's done. The next thing that you need to set is the output folder. So you need to go here and set a folder. Okay, so you can go to desktop and create a new folder. We'll call it test render. Okay, so I selected the folder. You have to do this because otherwise it won't know where to put it. The next setting you need is the file type. Do you want to output it, for example, as an image sequence, or do you want to output it as a video? Okay, So usually, professionally, we output this as images, okay, as an image sequence, but it's not necessary now. So we're going to do the easy thing and output it as a video. Do you want it black and white or do you want it in full color? You can look at color management if you want, and so on. Then you can open encoding, okay, to see the video file type that you want to output. So I'm going to use MPEG-4, MP4, okay, and the codec. Okay, the codec. If you work in video editing, you should know many of these. You should be familiar with many of these. Okay, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure which what kind of file type this will give me. It's 264, probably MP4. If not, then I can go to MPEG-4 DivX codec. Okay, or FFmpeg video codec. I think this is the one. Okay. But anyway, if you keep it at the default, if you keep it at the default, it's fine. It's fine. I think it will just spit out an MP4 video. Okay, so I'll keep it at default. I'm not going to change it. Once this is done, then you can go and render. Now, again, what have we done? We went to the output tab, set the resolution of my video, and then the frame rate, the number of frames that need to be rendered, so 75 frames, the location of the render, and the media type of the render. Is it an image or is it a video? And what kind of video I want to output. Okay. Once this is done, and you do this only once for each scene, then you can go to render animation. Okay. And our rendering engine is Eevee, so this should go pretty fast. So render animation. Okay, before I render, what do you think the result will be now if I render? What do you think I will see?
الفول رندر اللي هو اللي على اليمين فوق.
Do you think I will see anything in the scene? Let's render it.
No, because you did not add the light.
شاطرة. عافية عليك. شاطرة. I don't have a light. Okay, so to see what you are going to render, go to render view. Okay, and have a look at what you have. Okay, which is nothing. You have nothing. It's dark. Cool. This is what's going to render. Basically nothing. Okay, so I need to add a light. Okay, and then I'll go to the light properties and there. I can add another one. So duplicate this to this side. Reduce this one. Okay, so a fill light on this side. Okay. Okay, so now this is what is going to be rendered. We'll go to render animation. And it's rendering it now frame by frame in Eevee. And it once it's done with the render, it will stop. Okay, so it's done. Now let's have a look at our video. So it's in the desktop. The folder is called test render. Okay, and here is my folder, and here is the video, the MP4 video. Okay, I can open it and it will play. Okay, there. Okay, and that's how you render an animation basically. You need a camera, you need settings. The camera doesn't need to be animated, obviously. You need output settings and so on. Okay, any questions about this before we go to the next point?
All clear.
Okay. So let's have a look at other ways of animating. Okay, we should know how to animate like this from previous lessons. اوكي بطفي الليتات وهذه الكاميرا بحيها بعد زين بسوي كاميرا جديدة. I'll delete this and I'll create a new camera. Okay, and here's my new camera. Go to front view, side view actually, okay, and position my camera. Right, okay, so the way we animated that camera isn't the best way to animate a camera, okay, because then you have to go to places in between and everything. Now, in films, cameras are for smooth movement, for smooth, predictable movement. Cameras are put on what exactly in real films? How do you get stable camera movement?
ينحط على الشيء
أيوة.
اللي يشبه القاري، نسيت اسمه.
على صح، على شيء يشبه القاري. أنا موافق على القاري، ما بنقول أي شيء ثاني غير القاري. ينحط على قاري.
لايك ستابلايزر.
مو ستابلايزر. من أول ما سووا السينما اكتشفوا إن إذا تخلي الكاميرا على قاري زين، والقاري نخليه على ويش؟
خليه على تراك.
على تراك. اوكي، القاري نخليه على تراك ونحرك الكاميرا بيعطيني smooth camera movement, smooth and predictable. Okay, so this is what we're going to do now. We're going to create a very basic camera rig using something in Blender called animation constraints. Okay, constraint يعني اخلي حدود حق الشيء اللي قاعد اسويه في بلندر. Okay, so for example I can say that not animation constraint but movement constraint. مثلا ان بسوي روتيشن حق الشيء ان اذا وصل مثلا اكثر من اذا وصل ل 90 درجه خلاص يوقف, you can't rotate it anymore. Okay, so you constrain it. You can find the constraints here in this icon هذا, and they can do all sorts of things. So you can limit your location, limit rotation, limit scale, limit all sorts of things. Okay, you can have relationships between objects. Okay, and you have tracking, which is exactly what we want to do. We want to put things on a track, okay, to move. So how do we do this? First of all, let's have a look at how can we make this camera. Let's look through the camera here. how can we make this camera? And by the way, make sure if you're doing this, make sure to go to view and uncheck this lock camera to view. We don't want to lock the camera to view, okay? Because we're using better methods now for the camera. Okay, so you can remove camera to view from here. Okay, now, the first thing I want to do is that I want this camera to point at my monkey from anywhere. Doesn't matter where I move the camera will automatically rotate. Okay, so I don't need to keyframe rotation. Okay, I want the camera automatically to look at the monkey. So I can go to the camera, I can add an object constraint from here, add an object constraint, and select track to. So I want the camera to track to the monkey, which means I want, in the settings here, it says, where is the target object? So what is my target object?
The monkey.
What is here? The monkey. Yes, there we go. So it's the monkey. As soon as I click it, now have a look at this. If I move this camera and I'm just grabbing, it will always point at the monkey. I don't need to keyframe rotation anymore. Okay, so I can just do this animation and it will always point at the monkey. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to do. Another thing I can do is have the camera move on a track. Okay, which means constrain the camera movement. Now the camera movement is freeform. Okay, so the location of the camera is free. I can take it wherever I want. I can constrain the camera movement to a certain path. Okay, how can I do that? There is an object in Blender when you press Shift A. There is an object in Blender called curve. Okay, and a curve is exactly that. It doesn't render, it doesn't do anything. After the break, we will have lessons on how to use curves for modeling. Okay, but for now, all we need to know is that these curves are Bezier curves. So if you used, I don't know, Illustrator before or any program like that, if you used Adobe Animate, it's the same curves that have handles and all that stuff. So I'm going to create a circle, okay? And here's the circle. I'll scale it up. Let's scale it a bit more, like that. Okay, and then I want the circle to be the track where the camera will move. Okay, I want the camera to be clamped to my curve. Okay, again, I want the camera to be clamped to my curve. So I'll select the camera and go to add object constraint again. And now I'll choose clamp to. And it will ask me, clamp to what? I'll say clamp to the circle. And as you can see now, it has clamped to the circle. Just a second, let's see what is happening here. So the track constraint got a bit messed up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to try these. I think this is the solution now. So if I grab this, what is wrong with it? لحظة شوي. So there. Now we should be able to let's change the order. Let me see, just a second. Okay, I have a little problem here. I don't know why it's doing that. Just a second. So we're going to track to this. You know what? I'm going to remove this track. This track to, I don't know. I'll check if it's a bug or what exactly. Let me see. Okay. I'll add the object constraint again and track to object monkey. Okay. Yeah, now it's working. I don't know. That's probably a bug or something. Okay. So I just deleted the track to constraint and added it again. Okay, and that solved the problem. Happens. Now, if I move my camera and I press G and I'm moving my camera, it will always point at the monkey and it will move on the track. Okay, if I want to animate it to go the full circle, I'll start here. Go to frame 1, and I don't need to do anything other than keyframe location. And then I'll go to frame 70, I don't know, 70 something. I'll grab until it arrives here. I'll add another keyframe. And now I have this. Okay. Okay, if you're following along, do you have any questions before we move on to the next point?
Regarding this camera movement or camera movements in general?
No, this for now.
Oh, no.
Okay. Now, how can we enhance this further? Now, since I have this animation, this circular animation, I can animate other things, and I can also change my target from the monkey to something else. Okay? So instead of the monkey, here's what I'm going to do to make this rig more efficient. I'm going to add a new object, and I'm going to add an empty. An empty is a nothing object, it is a null object. Okay? We use it because it has a location. Best. So I'm going to add an empty plain axis. If you want to see it, this is the empty. It's nothing. It doesn't do anything. It's just an object that has a location. That's it. But what we can do with it is, instead of the camera pointing at the monkey, I want it to point at this. This becomes my my tracking target. So I'll go to the camera, I'll go back to this track 2 constraint and change from Suzanne to empty. And now it's looking at the empty. Now, what kind of advantage do I have? What kind of advantage do you think I have now? Hello, assalamu alaikum. Shakbarkum Zainin. What kind of advantage do I have now that I changed my target from the monkey to the thing, to the empty?
It
That you
helps
can
with
move
bigger
easily.
objects.
That it can move. Okay, which means I can animate this. I can animate
Easily.
this point. Yes, I can animate it without moving my monkey, which means now I have a rig. And I can also animate this. See?
You can move the points.
I can animate the circle and I can animate the target,
Okay.
which means now برجع هذا مكانه برجع هذا مكانه. It means now that I can add an animation. I already have an animation for the camera, right?
Right.
So I can take this circle, drag it up, keyframe its location, and then by here, put it back and keyframe its location again. Now I have this.
We are not moving the object, we are moving the camera.
Yes, we're not moving the object. Okay, we're creating a camera rig.
Wallahi, I like, wallahi.
Okay, so since the circle is moving from top, from above the object to a target at the eye level of the object, then we have this. Okay, the camera descends towards the object. Okay, let's have a look here again. So this is what the camera is doing now. Okay, and then I have my empty. Okay, so let's have a look. I'll take this empty like that, up like this, keyframe its location, go, I don't know, to here, for example, and move it down. And keyframe its location again. Now I have this. If you look at the rig, what is happening here, it's pointing at the head of the monkey, and then slowly, as it goes down, it looks at its face. Okay? So now you have a full rig. You have a full camera rig. Now, of course, it doesn't need to be a circle. It can be a path, that you can create. Okay, and it will the camera will go on it. Something else that we can do, something else that we can animate here is I can animate the scale of this thing. Of course, now we'll have a few problems, but who cares? So I can start with animating the scale of the circle. So it's this big. I'm going to animate the scale. So I'm going to keyframe the scale at frame 1 of the circle. And then by the end here, I will scale it down. I'll just press S. Okay. And it will allow me to zoom in on the monkey. I'll do that. Put a keyframe on scale again. Okay. So this is what I have now. Starts far, and then it goes closer because the circle gets smaller. Okay. If you're following along, do you have any questions about this?
No?
Okay, so you actually understand this.
Theoretically,
Is-
yes.
Well, you have to do it because well, you won't be able to do it on top of your head if you don't try it. Yeah. Okay. For the people who have their phones on and are not listening or not following along, I hope you look at this recording, okay, and listen to what I'm going to say now. This is the most difficult subject you have this semester. Okay, if you're not paying attention, it's bad enough that we're doing this online. Okay, and if you're not paying attention, you're just making things much worse for yourself. Okay, if you don't practice, you're making it much worse for yourself. Again, this is the most difficult subject you have. This is the most difficult course you have this semester. And I hope you understand it's your future, it's not mine. Okay.
اموري انا
المهم،
طيبة.
شاطر.
يعني في البداية
يعني
اتلخبطت بس الحين اوكي.
اشتغل كل شيء عندك اوكي؟
ايه كل شيء تمام.
All right. I will show you one more thing in camera settings, and we'll call it a day, and then we'll take your questions if you have anything about the project, anything like that. So I'll just show you one extra thing. Camera settings. Okay, if you're okay with this, I'll just delete this rig. I'll delete the camera. I'll delete everything. Okay, I'll delete the empty as well. Okay, I'll just keep the monkey. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to show you some camera settings. Okay, so mainly I want to show you how to create depth of field in your scene. Okay, using the camera. So go to top view, duplicate this a few times. Let's create a camera. Here. Through it and adjust the view. And get rid of that. Okay, so I have this camera now, and I have this shot that I want to do, whether it's animation or whatever. Okay, and I have my camera here. So I want to look at some camera settings, including depth of field. Okay, so I have the camera selected, and I'll go to the camera settings, which is the green thing here, the green camera here. It's a perspective camera, and here you can start playing with things. So this is the lens of the camera. هذه عدسة الكاميرا. حاليا 50. 50 is the focal length that humans see in, okay, approximately. But you can make this wide angle, can make this telephoto. Okay, so this is how you change your view. Now, I'm not going to give you a lesson now on camera lenses and all that stuff. You should know it from other courses, but if you have any questions about this, feel free to ask. Okay, keep it at 50. Now there are a few things here that you can do with the camera, mainly depth of field. So I'm going to create depth of field. I need a light. I need a couple of lights actually. So listen. Okay, so that's one light. I'll duplicate this light, put it there. Increase its power, maybe bring it down a little bit. Increase its power. I'll give this light I'll give these lights a bit of color just to make it a bit better. And fill light, to make it cool. Okay, just to have a bit of color in our scene. Okay. So what we're looking at now, I'm in render view here, in the camera view, I'm in render view. And I want to create some depth of field. Okay. So select the camera, go to camera settings and go to depth of field and open the rollout. Now it's asking, it's either a focus distance. So 10 meters away from the camera is where everything is going to be in focus, and whatever is behind it, whatever is going to be out of focus. Okay. So I don't want that. This usually doesn't work. So I'm going to start first by having focus on object. And I will say focus on this object, okay, on this Suzanne. And then I'm going to take this aperture, the f-stop, and reduce it. And as you can see now, everything behind this monkey is getting blurred, okay? You can mess with these settings, of course.
هني من الفوكس سيتنجز استخدمنا شو اسمه الفوكس ديستنس استخدمناه على الدروب صح؟
احنا في الكاميرا settings depth of field.
Yeah.
Okay. Focus on object. ان الفوكس بيصير على object معين على بعد معين اللي هو هذا. Okay, so I selected this monkey.
Okay.
وبعدين بروح حق الابرتشر. الابرتشر السيتنج اللي فيه اللي هو الاف ستوب، يعني البليدز مال الابرتشر بصقهم او سوري بفتحهم سوري.
لا تفتحهم.
Okay? بفتحهم حدي. Okay. So you get this. All right.
Okay.
انزين الحين similar to what I did in animation, when we say focus on objects, it's always better to let it focus or track to an empty, not to an object. Okay, so I'll create an empty, and it's always the better solution because you can animate it. Okay, you can control it in a more efficient way. So here's my empty. Okay, and now instead of the camera focusing on the monkey, I wanted to focus on the empty. So I'll go back to my camera settings, and instead of Suzanne, I'm going to pick the empty. And that's because now I can animate and move this, okay? Which means that have a look at this here. Have a look at this thing here. Go to top view. Okay, I'm going to take this thing back and have a look at this. Now it's out of focus, and as I bring it in, we go into focus, okay? Which is a very common camera technique. Okay, and of course I can animate this. So combining camera movement with some camera settings can give you a very good camera rig, and you can have a lot of control on how things look in your scene. Okay, it will enhance the look of everything in your scene. It will enhance your animation. It will enhance everything. So, you know, something like this, for example, is completely blurred. Okay, and as I go closer and closer and closer to it, it gets into focus. Okay, and of course I can animate, as I said, I can animate the location of this empty, okay, to have that blur going wherever I want. This is just a simple example of what you can do with the camera. Okay, I think that's enough for today. Any questions?
الحين تبتدي فقرة الأسئلة والله بعد شوي.
بتبتدي فقرة الأسئلة. إيه يلا.
First question is شلون نسوي الكاميرا POV? Do we need to bring مثلا an animated thing ونخلي stuck to its eye level ولا manually?
مروة, your question is very strange. إنزين بس ما علي. بنعتبرك شو اسمه. إنزين. POV means that you're looking through the character's eyes, right?
Yes.
Now think about it. If it's a POV game, is there a character that is moving in the game, or is it just the camera that is moving, and you think you're looking through the eyes of the character?
Obviously it's just a camera, but I'm saying إن obviously يعني ما بتكون هي بس قاعد تمشي سيدة. There are slight movements that happen in the camera that makes it feel like it's
Handheld.
نفس handheld. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Got it. Okay. إنزين في هذه الحالة نراويك على السريع شلون تسوين كاميرا هاند هيلد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ديليت الليتات. إنزين بسوي كاميرا جديدة وبنسوي لها هذا
هو مو في افكت نحطه على الباث مالها ويصير شيك نفسه شوي.
Yes. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, you need to use the graph editor. Okay, so you ask the questions. You ask the question, so you take the consequences of the answer.
Okay.
إنزين. So I'll just create a camera, a straight dead on camera. وين راحت؟
هاي دكتور مو اذا حطينا في الباث مال الكاميرات شيء يخليها تصير شيك
هاي اللي بنسوي له.
المفروض تصير
هاي اللي بنسويه زين. So this is what my camera is seeing right now. Okay, and I'm going to go and obviously just give it an animation on frame 1. I'll give it an animation like this from here. So I'll animate the I'll animate both the location and rotation, and that's for a reason, okay? So I'll animate location and rotation of the camera. You need both. And then I'll go to frame 70, I don't know, 70 something, 72. And move it forward just a little bit. I don't know, here, for example, and animate it again for both, okay? Both location and rotation. Okay, now this panel down here, this timeline panel down here, I want to change it with this button from timeline to graph editor. Okay, you can change it to anything. You can change it to another 3D viewport. Okay, you can change it to, I don't know, shader editor. You can change it to whatever you want. I'm going to change it to a graph editor. Okay, select my camera and look at all these animation tracks. Hello. Okay, so I'll select, first thing is I want to create some noise on the movement. So the first type of noise I want to create is up and down movement or side to side. I don't know, up and down. Let's say up and down. Okay. So that's the Z location. Now, since I selected the Z location, okay, let's have a look at the entire thing. It's better to do that. So I'm going to look at the Z location. Which is this and that. Okay, actually just select it. Just select the Z location. And on the right side, on this panel, it's on F curve, you can go to modifiers. Now, if you don't have this, it's the same. You press the letter N, okay? The same as everywhere else. So modifiers. And in modifiers, you will add noise. Now, noise, as you can see, has been added to my Z location graph, which means that the camera now will shake up and down. Okay, like that. Zilzal. Okay, so that's an earthquake. That's how you create an earthquake. Now, of course, we don't want that. So what we're going to do is mess with the settings of this noise. So first thing is scale. Okay, and that will slow down the movement. Increase the scale some more. And then the strength. This is very strong, so it will go up and down a lot. We don't want it to do that. We want to reduce this to a minimum. Okay, so that's up and down movement, which is normal when you walk. Maybe I want to decrease the scale to have more movement like that. So you're running. Okay, I'll decrease the strength a little bit, even more. It's too much. Okay, so there's a bit of movement.
Can we separate it نسويها مثلا في النص, half of it walking, half of it running? Is that possible?
Of course,
okay.
Of course. And then you select the keyframe, and then you have you can add modifiers. And look at this here. Restrict frame rate. Okay, so on each one you restrict this modifier to these frames.
Okay.
Okay,
okay,
through
okay,
this.
okay.
Okay, so similar to this, we can go to, let's say, side-to-side movement, and in this case, it's X. We can go to X location and add the same noise modifier, so it's moving side to side. Going to increase the scale. Okay, so side to side. The strength, it's up to you.
هي قاعدة
How much-
تتضح حاليا.
هيدا سكران، خلينا واجد. زين. So that And that's enough. For forward movement, that's enough. And then I can go to rotation. The main rotation that we need to do is the forward rotation, which in this case is X. Add the noise modifier to that. Okay. Let's find it. It's here. That's too much, obviously. The strength is way too much. Okay, so now you have a more natural movement. So I'll decrease the scale. With rotation, you really need to decrease the scale a lot. So 0.05, for example, and that will start to give you some kind of natural movement. You can decrease it even more. Okay, and side-to-side rotation as well. So that, in this case, this will be Z rotation. Let's find it. So that's that. Add a modifier to that. Noise modifier. And do the exact same thing. So 0.05 on that. And of course, increase the scale so it won't be too much. So there. Of course, this is too much, but I hope it shows in the stream, yani.
It does.
Okay, so it's moving forward, and you have all this natural movement with it. See, there is another way of doing this. Okay, that I did once before for a project, which is I took a camera, a real camera, a mobile, yani, and I personally walked from point A to point B holding a camera, okay? And then I took that footage to Blender, tracked my camera, and there I had a camera with the exact same movement that I had walking outside, and used it in my project. Okay, so that gives you even a...
You're giving me ideas.
هذا ندرسهم اياه الحين في 3D animation 2.
Okay, تمام got it.
زين. So if you're interested in that, this is where you go, VFX and motion tracking. Basically, you track a camera and then you have a camera. You can have a look at tutorials and so on. You can track a camera and bring the camera in your scene and basically just use it. Okay. Exact same movement of you walking, jumping, whatever. Yes, روح الله.
أقدر أسوي يعني ماونت حق إيدين في الكاميرا وبس يعني يبين إنه يركض، إيده تبين، يعني لما يركض يرفع إيده تنزل إيده.
Sure, I'll show you how to do that. إنزين الحين شوف أنا ما عندي إيد الحين. أوكي بس عندي
ستيك يعني.
سبال. عندي سبال، عندي أي شيء. إنزين.
Sure.
Whatever, a cube. All right. I'll take this cube here, put it on the side of the camera, scale it down, let it show in my camera. I went slayer. Okay. I'll have it to show in my camera. Okay, so it's close to the camera. Okay, أكو هني مثلا. And I want this to be to always be moving with the camera. Okay, so this is a very simple fix. All you have to do is select the cube first, and then select the camera, and then right-click and go Parent, Object. That's all you need to do. And now have a look at this. The cube will move with the camera. Is that what you want?
إيه بس بعد أحط على الكيوب شوية باونس نفس الكاميرا عشان يبين يعني إذا قاعد تتحرك.
You can do that. You can do that. And اللي تسويه في الكيوب الحين ما بيصير فيه ولا شيء. But same thing يعني. ما ليش لحظة الإيد تكون مجودة الكاميرا فالإيد تكون ثابتة لا؟ والله شلون؟
لا he's talking about إنه وقت اللي يكون POV مثلا إذا أنت الحين بتركض وأنت ما قاعد تشوف إيدك So the camera is the eyes. So when the character is
Yeah.
running, is able to see the hands.
Oh, I
The
see.
بس
arms
ما في
Okay, so
moving.
كاركتر.
okay, so okay, فالايد تبغيها شويه تتحرك يعني كذي تتقلقل.
يا اي بالضبط.
هنا نفس الشيء، نفس الطريقه اللي سويناها الحين. You can apply it to that. So, but you need, as with everything else, you need at least a keyframe, one keyframe in the beginning or whatever, okay? But it's just the location keyframe بس. الحين أنا في الكيوب، أوكي؟ الحين في الكيفريمز مال الكيوب، أكو ببطلهم، بروح في الزد لوكيشن، بعطيه noise، then have a look at the cube، أكو تشوفه يتقلقل، نفس العملية يعني.
اوكي ايزي يعني.
اوكي هتكون نفس العمليه كذي. You can add whatever movement you want. You can do a preset animation and let it loop, whatever. You can obviously add side to side movement بعد حق الكيوب, whatever, it's the same thing. So the point of this is parenting. Okay, if you want something to move with something else, you parent it to it. بس. And then you can do whatever you want to both. Okay. Any other questions?
زين دكتور وش صار على
Yes.
الامتحان الحين يعني how will we do it؟
الامتحان يعني بتسوي في مودل. اوكي.
اوكي.
So ما عندنا حل ثاني يعني الامتحان بتسوي في مودل. الحين مودل ما يشتغل ولكن
إيه.
الصفحة الرئيسية مالت مودل رجعت. ف we're hoping يعني.
ان شاء الله.
Look, most probably يعني تقدر تقول 99% it's going to be next week. Okay, so same as this time, next Monday. إذا ما كان على مودل بعطيكم instructions. بيكون كأني بعطيكم assignment في Teams. Okay, so you open that assignment at that time, you finish it, and then you submit it. وبخلي فيه طبعا cut off date وهالسوالف يصير في التيمز. Okay, so that's all I can do. إذا ما استوى مودل هالأسبوع أو anyway الامتحان الاثنين الجاي خلاص. أوكي خلاص الاثنين الجاي.
زين I have a question. بعد عندي problem في my project.
أي.
إن أول شيء خليني أقول لك المصيبة إن my file got corrupted وصار عندي مناحة في الحياة بس يعني figured it out, fixed it.
Okay.
The problem is إن شفت when you animate يطلع لك فوق the FPS is 25, right? Mine
Yes.
is 3. And that's causing it to be extremely laggy.
زين.
Is there a solution? I tried to find من شنو the problem الصراحة. I tried to hide everything on
It's
the...
normal. It's normal.
It's normal, it's okay?
بس اللي تسوينه إنه you optimize your workspace. Okay. So when you want to move things around, if you want everything to show in your scene, okay, you go to wireframe view, for example. Okay, this will make it very light. Actually يعني نفس اللي سويته أنا الحين.
بس شيء طبيعي وشيء جدا عادي.
أبدا تماما.
اوكي
زين.
خلاص اوكي.
والشيء الثاني اللي تقدرين تسوينه is hiding things here. في الأوتلاينر يعني you hide things. You don't need to see everything all the time, and you don't need it to be all in render view all the time يعني. أي في طريقة إن مو كلهم يصيرون واير فريم، مو كل الأوبجكتس يصيرون واير فريم. إن بعض الأوبجكتس يعني you select some objects and they become wireframe. فمثلا هذا بس هذا الأوبجكت. أوكي. ما أبغي مع بروجكت موجود ورا ما أدري شو أسوي فيه. Okay, so I'll go to object properties and go to viewport display, and only this one I'll create it as I'll look at it as a wireframe. Display as wire. Okay.
اوكي تمام.
Then this will reduce the amount of work that the computer needs to do to render each frame while you're working. But it's totally normal. If your scene is heavy, and I saw your scene, it is very heavy. It's totally normal.
اوكي.
All right. Okay. Any questions? Any other questions قبل أن نذهب إلى
نعم آخر السؤال جدا صغير.
تفضلي.
There is a part of my scene. So my scene has part 1, part 2. Part 2 for the scene is not that big, but all the buildings that I created like 3 or 4 buildings. وفي لحين مساحة شوي فاضية. I imported 2 buildings in the background.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I don't. Okay خلاص I'll recall.
لا مو قصدي. لا. Don't import more geometry. You don't need it. If it's something far in the background, a
It
picture,
is for...
just a plane with a picture on it. That's it.
Okay.
يعني it's laggy as it is. You want to introduce more vertices, more polygons. Doesn't make sense.
تعرف like any website من الانترنت ولا is there like websites اللي I can get a proper like PNG?
Look, even if you don't get a proper PNG, just if it's a background element, you can sort of just select and remove the background with AI or whatever. يعني ما أدري Canva يقدر يسوي remove AI. That's a remove background.
Okay.
It's a very simple fix. يعني الحين صار هذه سالفة removing backgrounds.
Okay.
At least
I don't...
at least I think. شيء. تو كان عندنا اجتماع ويا واحد من كانفا من جديد ذكرني.
تعطونا كانفا شو اسمه ببلاش؟
كانفا هو ببلاش.
لا the pro شو اسمه؟
لا ما بيعطون. يمكن ما ادري ليش مجتمعين وياهم يعني يمكن. كانفا برو بكم زين؟ 6 دينار في الشهر.
6 دينار في الشهر واجد يعني.
لا مو واجد 6 دينار في الشهر حق هذا مو حق كانفا بس. 6 دينار في الشهر هذه مو بس حق كانفا. 6 دينار في الشهر هذه حق كانفا والافينيتي ديزاينر وافينيتي فوتو وكل الافينيتي سويت يعني. Then so it's a very very reasonable price and you don't have to pay it every month. It's not a yearly it's not a yearly subscription يعني بوقت اللي ما تبينه بس ما تدفعي. Okay, so when you need it and the 1 month that you need it you pay 6 يعني that's the dinar, which is a very good price. Again, it's for Canva and for the Affinity suite, so I think it's worth it. Sure. Cool. Canva. ستارت ترايل اكو ب0 دينار اكو شهر ببلاش. الله. Anyway. Yes. Okay. So, any other questions? حصلت طريقة عشان أسوي الغياب. يا سلام. Download attendance list.
ليش يا سلام ليش؟
لحظة خلينا نشوف سواه ولا ما سواه. الله أكبر أكو attendance list.
سوي له اضرب سكيب اليوم.
مهدي لفت.
مهدي لفت.
أو شوف الساعة كم يعطيك بعد. يعطيك الساعة كم طلع بعد.
مهدي لفت أنت رجع له.
يعني left and joined 4 مرات.
يعني بس بتسجل عنا غياب وما أدري
مروة
زين.
غدير أكو بعد. غدير راحت وجت.
النت
لا دقيقتين ما ادري يصير.
فيصل ما رجع. فيصل راح وما رجع. خشي صراحة أول مرة أدري عنه، بس عجيب اكتشفنا شيء زين.
بيننا وبينك
انا اقول
دكاترة
اضرب سكيب
البقايا مو لازم
للموضوع، سوي
يدرون.
وقت ما تشوف.
بقول لك الحين بطرش تعميم ويطلع بعد متى راحوا ورجعوا. يا سلام، الله أكبر. سيف 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 سيف. يلا زين، خذنا الغياب. عجيب، خلصنا. يلا if you don't have any questions.
مصيبه الاكتشاف، مصيبه.
غدير، مو انت غدير، اعتقد. لحظه شيء. غدير الدلال راحت وجت، راحت وجت، وبعدين راحت من الساعه 1 راحت ما رجعت، من الساعه 12 و55 دقيقه راحت وما رجعت. والله عجيب هذا. انزين، المهم إذا لم يكن لديكم أي أقوال أخرى نراكم إن شاء الله في الحلقة القادمة. And of course we'll confirm about the exam, but most probably it's going to be next Monday. Okay, not this Wednesday.
تمام.
أوكي.
اعتقد ان نكست ماندي يصير له الميد تيرم بريك.
ايه في البريك. ايه
في البريك. اوكي، مشكلة نية.
زين، بس طبعا احنا بنسوي في نفس وقت الحصة يعني. يمكن ابغى اعطيكم بعد فرصة تشتغلون على البروجكت مالكم، ما ابغي هالاسبوع تقعدون حاطون امتحان بعد. انزين anyway يلا نراكم ان شاء الله. مع السلامة، الى اللقاء.
دكتور
الله يسلمك.
وش بعد؟
بليز لا بس اقول لك بليز شو اسمه يعني تيمز.
ايش في
not
Teams؟
now I'm just saying like in general.
تيمز انا كنت برد عليك الحين في الحصه يعني.
لا
زين؟
بس اوكي خلاص it's okay.
ما
I
عليه،
just
ما
want
عليه.